Okay, welcome to another episode of What the Haze. I am your host, Hayes Wolfenden, author of the Jack Strong series of books, the first book of which is Jack Strong and the Red Giant, and of course the poetry collection Made in China. My guest today is Christoffer Vuolo Junros, author of the Origin Andromeda trilogy. Welcome, Christoffer.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's really glad. I'm very glad to be here. It's a great opportunity to talk to you and talk author to author.
You're perfectly welcome. Yeah, so can you tell me just a little bit about yourself and, of course, your history and, your writing history to date as well, please?
Yeah, of course. Well, I live in Sweden, in Stockholm, with my wife Joanna. Born in Gothenburg, the second largest city in Sweden, but we moved here 4 years ago now. Yeah, so a little bit further north, a little bit colder, larger city, and we thrive here. On my day job, I work as an engineer at Scania for like the method engineer of service and creating all of the methods that is needed to either service or repair or check the e-propulsion units on electric Scania trucks and buses and etc. More or less. And
That sounds interesting.
I've been doing that not at Scania all the time, but since 2011, more or less, worked for Volvo buses and Saab and Scania, and so it's a kind of broad engineering role.
Yeah, it sounds interesting, I've got to say. So what about your writing? Like, I know obviously at the moment you have been writing the Origin Andromeda series. What got you into writing in the first place?
Well, I've always kind of liked the poems and novels, written smaller stuff since childhood. But one day I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to write, and then I thought, why shouldn't I write a book? Like, there's no limit that says that I can't. So let's do it. And that was the start. The first book took a couple of years to finish. It was some months or a couple of months that I didn't write. But after a while, I got the first draft going. Got a Kickstarter added to be able to afford editing work, and that was the first book, at least, how it evolved and the entire publishing journey of it. Maybe we can go into that more in detail later on, but it was really a blast. Lots of learning opportunities.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I find when I'm writing, I think I'm always learning. I don't think I've stopped. I've written, like I said at the start of this episode, the Jack Strong series, and I'm re-editing.
Mm-hmm.
I have edited them before, but I'm revisiting, might be a better way of putting it. And it's kind of good to learn like how much I've improved as a writer. Maybe improved is too strong a word. Maybe developed is a better way of putting it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading it again and just making a few corrections. But the point I want to make is you never stop learning. You never stop making mistakes.
Exactly. I actually done
You have
more or
to.
less the same thing you had, or editing later on, a couple of years after
Yeah.
the first book. Re-released it, so to say, with more
Re-release,
polished,
relaunch, maybe even.
yeah, exactly, more or less. So I really understand that feeling of reading what you wrote a couple of years ago and what you have learned on the way, and okay, maybe I should polish that sentence a little bit and move it around to make the entire series.
I mean, I think as well, if it's like your baby, if you really care about the project, I think it's something you should do. Especially, I know yourself, you've published on Amazon, and so I think if you're expecting other people to not just to buy the work, but to like it maybe as much as you or almost as much as you. And this is something I find. I feel like I have to know my book really well, and I definitely got to the point where I hadn't read it or revisited it in years, 5 or 6 years, and just going back into it alone has just been,
I
quite,
completely
quite a
understand that feeling.
revelation, I would say. And it's something I encourage. It's something I encourage all writers out there, especially indie writers.
It's
Especially
definitely
if
an
you've written one or
opportunity
two
to
books, go back and
learn.
check them a few years later, because as we write and as we read, we do get better and we develop, and it's kind of good to go back and if I say you've made mistakes, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's not.
Exactly. All the best authors make some mistakes in their books, even
Yeah,
after
absolutely.
hundreds
Learn,
of
and I use the
editing
word develop a
periods.
lot as well.
Yeah. So
So
you
yeah,
should
the
never
the
be afraid to
Origin
do
Andromeda
mistakes.
series. Can you tell me what is it about briefly, please?
Yeah, the core team, I would say, is about the leadership and the trust. So the protagonist is very unfamiliar with the leadership, and suddenly he gets the top leadership level in the hierarchy, so to say. And how does a person handle that? What is the ways that you can evolve as a leader, and what challenges are on the way? How do you think as a leader, and how should you behave as a leader?
I
That's
think as
one thing that
authors, I think that mistakes are a part of
mm,
our writing life, I would say, to be honest.
yeah, part of life as a whole. You should always learn from mistakes.
So yeah, what about Origin Andromeda?
Yeah, the core team is, as I said, the leadership, but it's also trust. That you trust in the people that you have around you in order to make in order to find a solution for the challenges that are in front of you. So, for instance, in my book, Henrik and Joanna, they are very tight in their relation, and I hope that it's maybe not obvious, but I hope that it's something that the reader can feel when they read the book, that the core part of the story is around something much deeper than what is happening on the pages sometimes.
Yeah,
And the
good.
main quest, if you can say that, for the protagonist is to basically end a war in another galaxy, in his home galaxy.
Yeah, is it in the Andromeda galaxy?
Yeah, exactly. So my idea is that
Yeah.
maybe there's a little bit spoiler, but that's okay. He isn't born on Earth, but is born in the Andromeda galaxy. And as a child, he has been taken to Earth to protect him. And later on, his protectors take him back to Andromeda when he's ready to be part of this journey towards leadership.
That sounds interesting, I've got to say. And I know obviously that you're an engineer. How is your career, your profession, being an engineer? How has that impacted on obviously this story, but also
Mhm.
your writing in general?
That is something that I've actually thought about quite a lot. So at first, in my early drafts, I had it very, very detailed, this machine works in this particular way, and it is made of this particular iron or steel, and all of this very nerdy details of how it works. Since that is something that I find very interesting myself. But as I evolved the draft, I looked at it from a reader's perspective, and that was boring. It's it's easy to put too much details in, how engine works, or how a shield works, or how a command center works, so to say. But that is something that I learned along the way to maybe tone it down, compact it into smaller, not going into the details in how, but why it works instead. What does this technology do for the characters, and how can it evolve the story and push the story either forward or backward. That is something I learned along the way, with my engineer background as well, I would say.
It's interesting. Yeah. For me, I write when I write science fiction, it typically is for younger children, and because of that, when it comes to like describing things like spaceship, for example, I have to be very aware of my audience. So and sometimes for me, I'm my own audience, and so I always get bored with when I'm watching a TV show. A great example, Star Trek. I mean, I like Star Trek, but some of the episodes when they have very detailed explanations of how the transporters work or the warp drive works, I don't find it interesting. It's like for me, it's like you go fast, you go slow, you got weapons, you fire them, you don't.
You turn left, you turn
That's
right.
all I'm interested in, to be honest. So I put that into my books, to be honest. So it's interesting that you've done something similar. I think really.
I think it's clever to like maybe like dumb it down. Perhaps that's not the correct word to say, but to make it not about the technology itself, but about what the technology can do for you. That is what the readers care about, I would say. In many cases, at least. If you're not like a nerdy engineer like me who just want to like go into the details and how does that work? Can it work? Does it work? But I think the amount of or the readers that are like that nerdy, they maybe perhaps find those details not necessary anyway. So I try to like put it a little bit more on the what does it do and why.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier about it's like it's. I think it's the effect on the people that matters. I think it's the characters that matter as well. I mean, I think it depends. That there's going to be some people out there for science fiction who will love nothing more than reading lots of technical details. All I can think of really is like fantasy, where you get people, again, rightly or wrongly, they love magic systems and they want to read about the magic system for 80, 90, 100 pages before the novel has even begun. So I get it, but I still think most people just want to know the story and the characters and maybe get the themes and maybe even enjoy the language. That's what I tend to think.
Yeah. Sometimes when I read like these thick books with a lot of details and lot of backstory, I can find that it moves sometimes a bit too slow. So one thing that I've tried with my books is to keep them slightly lower in the word amount or character amount. So they are books that you can take to the beach perhaps and just read through in a couple of hours, then you're done. That's what I like. I want not huge Bibles to read, but smaller, like fast-paced stories filled with interesting technology and interesting story that moves in a quite rapid way forward, but not too rushed either. So it's a delicate balance between that. For instance, when I describe how a new technology for moving faster than light, one thing I wanted to like imagine is to put like a orb of tachyons that move faster than light in their natural state around the ship, and in that way try to warp the space. So first I really dug into the details. How does it work? Why does it work? And etc. But then I just, in the story itself, in the final draft, I have made it much smaller, the details of it, and it just worked better, I felt, moving the story forward. And that is important to me, to have the audience or the reader to maybe not get stuck on some details, but to go with the flow, so to say.
Yeah, I love that. Go with the flow.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we're saying pretty similar as authors. Really, I like to keep things ticking along. You mentioned about like you can read it in a couple of hours, and you can read it on the beach. how, just out of interest, how long are your books, like in terms of like word length, like
The
typically?
first one is around 67,000 words. So for a science fiction, that's not long at all. That's like not even half of most of the contemporary science fiction books, I would say. But let's see how many pages. The first one is 300 pages. So
Okay.
that I would say is quite beach-worthy length, or maybe on the plane or the flight, a couple of hours on the flight or in the car. And that is something I want the books to feel, to like in your
Great.
hand. It should feel like something that you can go through in a couple of hours, and perhaps you have a beautiful, inspiring journey that you can just digest, so to say.
Yeah, sounds excellent. I mean, I'm the same. My first book is what, it's like 65,000 words. I've been influenced a lot, like in my I won't say writing style, but like maybe not writing style, but maybe like writing philosophy by books like Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, The Great Gatsby. They're pretty quick reads. Like there's a lot in them, but every page is packed. Of Mice and Men's about 120 pages, I think. The Great Gatsby is about 220. It's not much.
No,
But there's
that's
so much in them.
digestible.
Just out of interest, because that brings up like another topic, which is like obviously you're writing sci-fi and I write sci-fi. Like what kind of like books or TV? Because with sci-fi, this is a great point I think for people out there. Obviously we read books about sci-fi, but there's also a lot of sci-fi, TV shows and movies. Like what are like the big like books or movies or TV shows that have influenced your writing? Influenced you and or your writing?
Yeah, so for me, it's been I've always been a Trekkie. So a lot of Star Trek, and besides that, a lot of influence by Stargate and Doctor Who. So I like the quirky humor, fast-paced quirky humor of Doctor Who with the technology from Star Trek, and like the exploration of the Stargate franchise. That is what I feel is most interesting and has impacted me throughout my writing career. As well as classics, of course, like Isaac Asimov's series. That is the first book I've heard is quite similar to his style of writing. The second and third book in the series is perhaps a little bit more darker, but the first book is more adventurous in its essence. So I try to bring lots of influence from both Doctor Who, Stargate, Battlestar Galactica, a lot of different shows and books.
Which Battlestar Galactica, is it the new series or the old one or both?
I would say little bit, maybe not the latest. They are a couple of years old now, but weird to say latest about that. But not the Battlestar Galactica. What was it? The name of it? Spin-off series.
The spin-off, I think, was called like Battlestar Galactica 1980. Oh no,
No,
that was it. Was called Caprica.
Yeah, thank you, Caprica.
Yeah.
Maybe not that Battlestar Galactica, but the newer one, but not the newest, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the new Battlestar Galactica. I didn't like the last series. I felt, and I know why, because the studio really got involved and changed a lot of stories and stuff, and the story just kind of started to fall apart. But like, yeah, for similar to you, I was especially growing up, I was into Star Trek a lot, mostly in my 20s, like especially like Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, especially Deep Space Nine for storytelling has had a big impact on me. Again, like TV shows, Babylon 5. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Yeah, long time ago, but yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, I think it's about due for me for a revival. Maybe a reboot or a refresh, do something different with it. I love Babylon 5. When I was a teenager, definitely teenager, mid-teens, it was the X-Files.
Yeah.
that still has a big impact. Just the idea about, it's government agents, but the idea that, you've got government conspiracies and there's paranormal activities or sci-fi activities, and most people aren't aware of it, but a few people are. I think that's still pretty current. Twin Peaks will be another one. That's kind of paranormal as well. But I like Twin Peaks for like the atmosphere, like the small town feel and the quirkiness. Yeah, like I say Star Trek. Yeah, I love Deep Space Nine. I probably watched the entire series like 3 times, 3 or 4 times. Too much.
Nice.
I probably can't watch it now. I've watched it too many times. Star Wars. I mean, on the the movies, not the new stuff, but certainly the original series and the prequels to a lesser extent, but they're still very good in their own way. I want to think about books now. I was thinking about this the other day. I think probably my favorite sci-fi book is, I read it recently. It's called The Man Who Fell to Earth. And the name of the author has just escaped me. It's a movie with David Bowie, but I haven't seen the movie. But the book's really good. Have you read it?
Unfortunately not, but I will definitely add it to my to be read list.
It's one of the, I think it was published in the 1960s. I think it's the 60s. And it's about this like alien from Mars, because in those days people thought that Mars, was habitable and was a dying planet. It's like the dying planet kind of idea, and he's come to Earth to like conquer it from like inside out, and it's about his struggle to survive and his struggle to conquer it, because it's a lot more difficult than like his race's like understood or imagined, and it's really good and makes you really kind of think about things, and it's a very human book. Again, it's very low tech, but it's all about the ideas.
Sometimes
Another one would,
the story doesn't have to be a lot of tech; it can just be a lot
yeah,
of story.
yeah. Then there was a British writer called John Wyndham, and his book was called The Day of the Triffids. Have you heard of that?
It's familiar, but I haven't read it.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's not. I think it's one of those books that it's probably falling out of favor, but it's a lot of like writers and movie writers have copied it, because it starts off with this man, and I think he's having an eye operation, so he's in a hospital, but then like there's like a I think there's a meteor shower that blinds everybody in the world. So everybody's blind apart from him, because he's been in hospital and he can't see, so he can't get blinded. But then you get all these like mutated killer plants that are like growing and attacking all the survivors and stuff. It's really good. I've read it a couple of times. It is really good. I think the author John Wyndham's very good. And then I think one of the most recent things I've read is it's called Red Rising. It's kind of like young adult slash new adult, and the author's called Pierce Brown, and it's a bit like The Hunger Games, if you've seen The Hunger Games. Or read The Hunger Games, but it's like on planet Mars that's been like a terraformed Mars, and like they have these like fights and battles to survive and stuff. That's really good with all this like armor, this like exoskeleton stuff. Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, absolutely top notch, to be honest. More than that, I always feel like I need to read more sci-fi generally. I've always been, when it comes to reading, more of a fantasy reader, kind of strangely. And I've actually written a bit of fantasy, but mostly I don't do it. But I don't know, maybe it's something about fantasy I really like, to be honest.
Yeah, sometimes a couple of genres is if it's your favorite, it's something that you are drawn into and you want to read more and more and more of. I go in more of like sessions, if you can call it that. Sometimes I read lots of like fantasy books, perhaps, or noir books, and then I go back to like science fiction and read that a lot. And I can jump around, but I keep in the same genre for a couple of books, and then I move to another genre, and etc. That's how I work, at least. One thing,
I'm the
and
same.
one book that I've listened to very recently that I found very inspiring and quite genius is from Tchaikovsky. His book Walking to Aldebaran. It's very fast paced, and it's about like the journey of one person that is slowly turned into something else in
Okay.
like galaxy spreading artifact kind of thing. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's a ride. um, Walk into Aldebaran by Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, I know Adrian Tchaikovsky. I've read his book, actually, Children of Time. Have you read Children of Time?
I started it, but I haven't finished yet.
Yeah, I read it, good question, maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I did 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, I liked it. I know there's a sequel. I don't know if I fancy. I liked. I thought it was a really good story. I liked the time jumps. I wasn't. I thought maybe the human characters were just a bit two dimensional, a bit,
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't quite, because you're an engineer. I wasn't quite sure about the engineering of the spider web stuff, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't quite convinced with that. But at the same time, I thought it's a great story, great idea, to be honest. But I should read more of Adrian Tchaikovsky's stuff. Actually, that's good for me. Actually, do need to get more of his stuff for
Yeah, I
sure.
find him really brilliant author. One of the top-notch authors, I would say, on the
Yeah,
contemporary side, at least.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, contemporary, and he's got some great ideas. I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of interest, then, when it goes back into your books and your writing in general, what are the key themes in your work?
Well, the key theme, as I mentioned before, I would say is like leadership and trust, but also in the heart of the story, I want it to be about like humans. How do we work, more or less? And how can what we call AI today isn't really AI. It's more like large language modules. But uh, how can we interact with a real, like, super intelligent AI that has been around for thousands and thousands of years, and that is so on such a level that we simply cannot comprehend how that entity works. That is something that I go quite deep into in the third book in the series.
Right. Okay.
So it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, sounds interesting to me. It's sometimes it's what I kind of think about for like God.
Mm-hmm.
Like I sometimes wonder if that could be God. God could be, a hyper intelligent AI
Mm,
that's
perhaps. Who
existed for
knows?
tens of thousands, millions, billions of
Mm,
years. And this is what they do, create, different races and
mm,
stuff.
mm,
I'm reading a book at the moment, but, something similar with that had happened as well. And I don't know, I sometimes wonder that whether all the religions of the world are all like, they're all right. They're all tied together. There's all a focal point.
mm,
I
mm,
don't know. But I find it interesting. I think AI is interesting as well. I think it's like it feels like one of the big, I would say, yeah, maybe big questions of our time. I think our times.
mm, mm,
I was thinking about this lately, and I was like, oh, I like me personally. I've lived through a few revolutions. When I say revolutions, I mean like social and technological revolutions. I was thinking, yeah, the internet was really big. Late 90s, when I felt like it really kicked in and got going. And then the smartphone, which is
mm,
what was
mm.
about, 10 years, maybe not 10 years, maybe 15,
Yeah,
12, 13 years
15,
later.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And now, like, AI, or you mentioned like large language models and ChatGPT, it seems to be, wow, that's like, for me, like the last, like, what is it? I'm trying to think how old I am. Like 30 years of my life. So it's like, that's averaging like one revolution per 10 years. And
And
you're like,
it's
I don't know if we'd had that before. I don't know if before that we might
no,
have
it's
had
really interesting
revolutions.
to think about it on how fast technology evolves now. For just a couple of generations ago, people lived exactly the
Yeah.
same, or maybe not exactly the same, but more or less the same life as their parents.
Yeah.
And they had more or less the exact same technology as their parents, and so on and so on. Like the big, the huge improvements in society were not made in just 3-4 years, but it was like perhaps 100 years apart in some cases at least. So the real quick-paced evolution of today's technology and what we can imagine in the like next 20 years, it's 20 years is too long to even imagine how the world will look like, technology speaking. So that is very interesting, I think, and we are more or less the first people uh, who can experience this level of fast-paced
Yeah.
technology improvements.
Yeah, there's experiencing it. There's also, I think people around the world are becoming more like mindful of it as well, aware, and like I don't subscribe to, like, the old AI fear. Like Terminator is a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Dun 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 dun. I don't believe that. I don't think that will even be close to happening. But I think if AI is bad, its effects will be completely different. It will be like we don't have jobs, and we have to find time to fill our time with meaningful things.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's great. I could fill my time with lots of meaningful things. But some people, maybe even quite a sizable portion of society, they can't do that. They're struggling now, never mind with no jobs. I think things like that. Or what if like AI was like started acting like God and was like, no, this is what you need to do. This is, or like your
Mm-hmm.
mum or your dad. No, you've got to go to bed now, whether you like it or not. Lights off. I don't know. I don't know.
It's
I
a
don't think it'll
scary
destroy the
thought.
world.
Scary thought. And I
Yeah,
guess
I think
those who
it's
live will see it, what type of world we will have in like 10 years time. Um, and I personally think that the AI that we have right now isn't really AI. It's not artificial intelligence per se. It's more like just large language models moving
yeah.
like something that looks like intelligence, but it really isn't on that level. We are very, very far on the uh, what's it called? The staircase or the different steps on the AI evolution. Can't remember the name of it right now, but we're still in like the beginning steps of it, and the like God mode AI. That's so many steps above where we are from now. So, but
Oh yeah.
at the same time, technology evolves in such a rapid way right now, and it will not. I believe at least it will not stop evolving uh, even further. So the pace will be much faster in the future as well, I suppose, when the technology can like shape the new technology in a different way, so that the steps or the length between the steps gets just shorter and shorter and shorter. So
Hmm.
let's see. But right now, I wouldn't really call what we have like AI in that that way. At least it's a cool thing to call things AI, but I'm not. The AI for me isn't what we have today.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think that it's either just a bit below AI,
Mm,
or I know it's like large language models and stuff.
mm,
I think the big real AI would be like, was it the AI general intelligence?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
because a lot of people, yeah, when's it going to come out? When are we going to get AI, general intelligence. For anyone out there that's listening to this, if you've seen the movie I, Robot, the bad guy, well, the bad robot, kind of, the bad AI at the end that's controlling everything, the idea is that would be AI, general intelligence, and that's what we're moving towards.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not what we have today, but perhaps in the future. And I think when we go to that level, it will probably be not that much similar or different than you and me, like how it interacts with the world and how it thinks and so on. Since our human brains are more or less in, or how I see it at least, just mushy AI.
Yeah.
Like AI of mush.
I think, like, I was using, there's a Chinese one called DeepSeek, and I was using that earlier, and I've noticed it's got quicker.
Okay.
Noticeably quicker. Because before it was compared to ChatGPT, it's quite slow. But lately, like last couple of days, it's quick. It's fast. Seems to be maybe a bit more accurate. But I think that the thing for me with AI, I want to try to tag this back into writing as well, is like, I think its impact on healthcare, that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Like
and on
I've heard,
engineering part as well.
I've heard it's massive on like things like cancer research. The way it's allowing like scientists to just analyze the data just faster, and so it's speeding up like things like treatments and analysis of experiments and stuff. Right, I just want to move on a bit. So just going back into Origin Andromeda. Obviously, you got characters in the book.
Yep.
Where did you get your ideas for the characters then?
Well, some of the characters I've had during my entire career as an engineer so far, I've had the opportunity to work with the very interesting people. So, of course, some of the people in my books are inspired by my colleagues, or in some cases, perhaps friends and family and so. But I have a couple of AI characters in my books, and I want them to like reflect the human flaws that we have and the compassion that we have through a different consciousness level. And one thing that I want to like bring into the books is how they feel human and they feel AI at the same time. There's not really such big difference between those characters and human characters and so on. So the point that I'm trying to make is like, how does life evolve? So that is part of one of the characters and how they can develop in my books at least. And one thing that I use in my books are something I call like a dramatis personae, or just a character reference page in the books, so I can myself as an author keep track of my characters, and as well as the readers can go to the back of the book and read a little bit more about the characters.
It's a good idea. It's what Shakespeare did effectively.
Okay. Yeah. It's an idea I got from one of my colleagues, Adam. He is a huge Stephen King fan, and apparently Stephen King also does that. So.
Oh, I've read a load of Stephen King books, but I can't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll have to check.
He has quite a lot of books, so maybe he hasn't done it in all of them, but I find it's a great idea to like have just a section where you can read a bit more about, okay, what does this character's background, how did he fit into the story? Okay.
Actually, yeah, it's a good idea. Just out of interest, like, so you base your characters on like colleagues and friends. Are they aware of this? And if so,
No.
like, what do they think?
I know one person find it a little bit hilarious. The character itself is quite hilarious, and he as a person is hilarious. So they.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's normal for writers to base characters on, well, first of all themselves, but then people they know. It's natural. You live, you work, you meet people, they have a big impact on you, in sometimes positively, sometimes negatively, and it's natural that they're gonna get into your work. Like a lot of my characters, they're like amalgams of people I've known. So I might have in one character, there's 6 people in that, and I usually am pretty aware of who they are. For the lead characters, usually. Lately, I've started like basing bad guys on like famous, like I want to say celebrities, but like tech, maybe some of the like tech tycoons and stuff.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Just to
Yeah.
kind of satirize them a little bit.
Mhm.
Maybe that's like the world, the zeitgeist, kind of coming into my work a little bit. Yeah. So I think it's interesting way of doing it. To be honest. Yes, I was going to ask you another question there as well. What's it like to be an author in Sweden? What's that like?
Well, not sure if you know it or not, but the Swedish writing world is more or less like a sea of police dramas and
Okay.
that type of writing. So as a science fiction author, it's quite hard to be seen in Sweden, I would say.
I understand.
Perhaps one of the reasons why I write my books in English and then translate them to Swedish. So I sell like 90% of the books on international level outside of Sweden. But I have written or translated the books to Swedish as well to have them on libraries and for people who can't read English and so on. So I want to
Oh, great.
like have the books in Swedish as well. But it's
Yeah.
my heart is in the English version of the books. If I would have been a like police drama crime author, then maybe it would be more natural to write it in Swedish and have it more easily in the Swedish author space, or how you can say it. But it's quite, I would say, it's quite easy as a Swedish author, since you can get all of the ISBN numbers and so on for free from the
Right.
state, more or less. And you have, if you publish a book, it automatically gets into the like Royal Library for keepsake forever. So that is something I find a little bit happiness to be. Like I know that my work will be at least one copy of the work will be protected forever.
Yes, great. That's great. That I think. So just like Sweden, like the country or the city. Did you say you're from Did you say you're from Gothenburg?
Yeah, born and raised in Gothenburg,
Yeah.
but moved here for 4 years ago, more or less.
Okay. Okay. Does that go into the books at all? Do you think,
A
or not,
little
or is
bit,
it like escapism?
just a little bit in the beginning of the first book, but after like second chapter, we're gone from Gothenburg or gone from Earth, more or less. So
Yeah.
um, um, I find it more interesting to be outside the planet itself than in Gothenburg or any earthly city.
Yeah, I think I was similar with my Jack Strong series of books. There's a bit of UK influence at the start for what, 2 chapters,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're away. Then we're away.
Mm.
Then it's all
Then
about
the
my
takeoff.
experience abroad, really. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is fair enough. So I've got another question to ask as well. It's like, obviously, like, how do you go about marketing your books? Or I think you mentioned there that you placed them in libraries. Like, how do you go about doing that?
In Sweden, at least, it's very easy. You can just like email the library and they can purchase it from my Swedish imprint, so to say.
Right.
So that part is quite fast. But if you get like uh, review from a larger Swedish scene or book or magazine and so on, then they can obviously purchase in more libraries.
Right.
So what I have done is emailed all of the libraries in Sweden that I have email addresses for at least, and I think maybe 20 libraries have all 3 books. So that is something.
Wow.
I really want my story to be available for everyone who wants to read it. And the first book I made into an audiobook together with a person from, I believe he's from not London.
Okay.
It was a couple of years ago I talked to him, but I believe he's still in London.
Okay.
So I taken that audiobook and it's available on all of the usual places, but I also made it available for free on YouTube since
Okay. Oh, okay.
I want as much people as possible to be able to listen to the book and read the book, even if I don't get any like sales from it. But I want the story out there for everyone.
Yeah, it's a fantastic attitude, to be honest. I like the idea of the libraries. It's something that
Mm.
I've become aware of recently. And I think I might have a few random copies in a couple of libraries in the UK, but nothing substantial. And it's something
Mm.
I'm going to be looking into, and because I think it's a great. As I write for young adults or children, really, it's always hard for me to get my book in their hands.
Yeah, I
So
can
I think
imagine. Can
it,
imagine.
yeah, it's something I need
Mm.
to really kind of, look into.
Mm.
And I think probably a lot of people out there as well need to probably look into this. I think it's a way to kind of, when you're obviously trying to sell books online, you can understand why, because I do it as well. You can be very Instagram heavy or Facebook heavy,
Yeah,
and you can
it's.
show pictures of books.
Mm.
This is the book. This is the price. This is what it's about. Please buy it. And people do that over and over again. But
Mm.
I understand it a little bit, but sometimes I'm not sure it's really effective.
I can just tell from my experience, at least from trying to marketing on like TikTok and Instagram and Threads and so on. Uh, what I found works best, at least for my book, is to not talk that much about the book itself, but to talk with
Yeah.
other authors and readers in general. So when I show interest and read other people's books, who make reviews of their books, and people make review of my books and so on, and we all support each other as a community, and that is one of the biggest things that has not skyrocketed, would be a huge over compensation or how you say it, but it's something that has impacted my sales quite a bit, at least when I started to be more active in the community of authors and readers, and not like hello, this is the book, please buy it. That type of marketing, at least for me, haven't worked more or less at all. It's more about the community, I would say, to be a
Yeah.
part of the community and talk to authors and readers, and just what book do you like? Okay, cool. Have you read this book? Or so
Yeah.
that would be my tip,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think it's a great way to do it. Again, I encourage other people out there listening to this episode to try something similar. I'm doing this podcast, of course. I've not sold loads as a result, but I've sold a few actually, and it's a few more than what I'd
Hmm,
sold before I started the podcast. So
that's
it
good.
is working, and I've had a couple of really good reviews as well.
Hmm,
Look, it's obviously hard, but I do try to interact with people. If I like books, and I'm trying to buy, books as well, and if I really like books, I try to gift books to people I know, which at the moment is just my mum and dad. But like I had a guy on. It was, a couple of months ago now, Curtis Chin,
hmm.
and he wrote a memoir. And I bought the book for my mum and dad because my mum, she reads a lot of non-fiction, and again, they loved it. So I tried to do things like that as well, and like gifting books to people and stuff like that
It's a
for
very good
books
idea.
I like. Yeah, it's. I think, and again, I think with marketing, there's nothing wrong with making a mistake. It doesn't work. Just try something new, try something different.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
say.
I think every author or every contemporary author, indie author especially, or self-published authors, we have such a struggle to reach out to our readers since the market itself is so insanely huge today. So it's difficult to be seen. But with good attitude and trying to be a part of the community, trying to review and the part of giving books away that I will try to do as well. That sounds very rewarding for me as an author to give books to other people, colleagues or readers or
Yeah, for sure. Just one more thing before we finish. Do you have any tips for new writers or writers that are new to independent publishing?
Yeah, I would say if you're able to find someone who can beta read your book or your draft, that is always very good since you get blind to your own writing, so to say. And when editing, one thing I try to do is I try to listen to my book as well, using some sort of read aloud function on Word or what other software you work on. Since when you read the letters, you might skip automatically small differences or errors, but when you listen to it, then you might catch those errors that you're missing while reading. So I try to do in different batches when I edit. First I read one chapter, then I listen to the chapter, then I read it again, and I do that for each chapter, and then I do it once or twice for the entire book. Read the entire book, listen to the entire book, find all of the small errors that you might have just missed. And if you can, utilize beta readers. And for it doesn't matter if you self-publish or indie publish or if you go traditional publish. I guess the editing is more or less the same, I would say.
Okay, I think we can end it there, Christopher. What a fantastic episode. Love talking about your work and especially love talking about technology as well and, books, sci-fi, and obviously the advice at the end there and, lending books to or giving books, donating books to libraries. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so thank you very much for taking the time to come onto my show. It's been
thank you so
much appreciated.
You're welcome. Really good talking to you. It's been a blast.
Yeah, just before we finish, I'll say it again to everybody. Just the name of the book is Origin Andromeda, available on Amazon right now. Okay, so go out and buy it. Okay, thank you, Christopher.